All right, y'all, we back with another reaction right here on ABP Reactions. And right now, some bombshell evidence explodes in the Carmelo Anthony track meet murder trial. Let's get caught up.
A deadly confrontation. One teenager dead, another fighting for his future. Today, prosecutors and defense attorneys delivered starkly different versions of what happened under a crowded track meet tent during a rain delay. A confrontation that ended with Austin Metcalf stabbed to death and Carmelo Anthony facing a possible life sentence. Why did this teenager bring a knife to a track meet? What really happened under that tent during a rain delay? We learned a shocking new piece of information about the knife allegedly used to kill Austin Metcalf. We are inside the courtroom as the mystery at the heart of this case begins to unfold. All right, so today the state of Texas began to lay out its case against Carmelo Anthony. And not only did they argue the teenager murdered Austin Metcalf, they say it was premeditated. Now, there is video of the alleged incident that was shown in court today. And Court TV's Cody Thomas is in the courtroom for us for this trial. He saw that video for himself. He's going to join me here in a moment to break down what he saw. Now, as a reminder, there are a lot of restrictions when it comes to how we are covering this trial because the judge has not allowed any cameras or audio or live streaming of this trial. So really the only way you're going to be able to get insight on this case is if you follow along with us here on the case, as well as with Court TV's Cody Thomas. So let's start with how this day started. And I want you to look at this drone video. We shot this outside the courthouse. This was before opening statements, and there was a line of people here in Collin County. It's outside Dallas. We think there was roughly 200 people outside the courthouse trying to get in to see this trial take place. And there's just 27 spots in the courtroom. Now, before we get to what prosecutors and defense attorneys argued in their opening statements, we need to talk about this jury. Look, there is no question that race is one of the elements that has made this story the center of a lot of attention, on top of the fact that you have a young man who lost his life at a track meet. And the racial makeup of this jury is definitely something getting attention here. Now, this jury, it's 12 people. We're told it is made up of 3 Asian women, 1 Middle Eastern woman, and a woman of color. But reportedly, no African Americans are on this jury, and the rest of the jury is made up of white men. Now, according to local reports...
Ah, damn. That sounds like recipe for disaster right there. They about to be biased as a motherfucker. You never know, though. You never know. You never know. This is Texas, man. It can... I don't know what exact part... I mean, I know what they're telling us what city it is. I don't live out there, so I don't know if this is like the racist parts of Texas. If you're from Texas, let us know, man, where this case is being held. What side of the city is that? You know, how do y'all look at that city? You know what I mean? How do y'all look at that courthouse from previous trials that have been there? You know what I'm saying? Fill us in.
3 African-American women were stricken from the jury, claiming they had bias in the case, claiming they didn't want to convict Carmelo Anthony. Now, the court went through more than 600 potential jurors in the selection process. And one question, we are told, hung up a lot of people was whether they could convict a teenager and put him away for life. Now, Carmelo Anthony is that teenager, and he is charged with first-degree murder in the death of another teen named Austin Metcalf. And we have not seen Anthony on the outside of the courthouse as we did when he posted bond last year. The road surrounding the courthouse has been blocked off, and it does appear that Carmelo is being brought into court away from cameras. Again, very strict rules when it comes to this trial by the judge. We can't film inside the courthouse. We can't film the trial. We can't live stream it. So we just have the words of the people who are witnessing it for themselves, like Cody. Now, prosecutors dropped some new information today, and it's information we didn't know until the opening statements began. And before we get to that, I want to lay out for you the timeline. And I'm going to lay out this timeline using the perspectives of the prosecution and the defense. So all of this took place last year on April 2nd. And it was at a track meet for local high schools in Frisco, Texas. And you have Austin Metcalf's high school and Carmelo Anthony's high school. Those were 2 of the schools competing in this track meet. Everything changes when a rainstorm moves into the area, and it delayed this track meet. So everybody's going to maybe back to their bus, maybe they're going to a tent underneath, and Carmelo's high school did not have a tent, but Austin Metcalf's high school did. And Carmelo ducks under the tent of Austin Metcalf's high school. Now, this is where the versions of events are very different between the prosecution and the defense. So you have the prosecution who says that Metcalf's team told Carmelo Anthony to leave from being under the tent and Carmelo wouldn't move. And the defense says that the reason that Carmelo went to the tent is because he had recognized a close family friend of his girlfriend. Now, the defense says that once Austin Metcalf and his twin brother noticed Carmelo, they told him to leave, and Carmelo was just confused as to why it was a big deal that he was under the tent. Now, the prosecution says that when Carmelo was asked to leave the tent, he said something along the lines of, "Make me." And when Austin Metcalf stepped up to Carmelo to tell him to leave, they end up having some words, and that's when Carmelo Anthony allegedly stabs Austin Metcalf in the chest. And a big piece of information that is new information to us.
That's crazy. So it just escalated all the way from there to stabbing in the chest. Does that sound, I don't know the real like temperaments of neither party to judge and say, but that's kind of like, that's a lot. If we're here on a track meet and just saying, "Hey man, you got to move, make me," and then get in your face and somebody just pull out a knife and stab you, like, it's high school. Like, they wouldn't fight first. It got to be like something there from previous altercation, or they must know each other some type of way. If this is the case where he just stabs you, like, who just stabs a random person at a track meet just for saying you can't be under my tent? I don't know, man. What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
Related to the alleged murder weapon, prosecutors say it was a folding knife, and that knife was already opened. And they allege that the knife was ready, and they say that Carmelo Anthony was looking for a reason to use it. They characterize what happened as Carmelo baiting Austin Metcalf into a confrontation. Now, the defense side of it, again, very different from what the prosecution is saying. They are arguing that Carmelo had to act in self-defense. They say that Austin Metcalf was the aggressor. They say that Austin made the first physical contact with Carmelo, and Carmelo had to react in a moment of chaos, and he used that knife to protect himself.
All right, listen. This is 2026. We're talking about high school kids at a track meet, the era where kids record everything. People in general record everything. So with all these kids sitting around because they're not on the track meet because of rain, they're all just sitting there, which means they're probably got their phones in their hand, you know what I'm saying, sitting underneath those tents. Are you saying that nobody recorded an altercation? Nobody. You guys don't have no footage nowhere. Do y'all know if they got footage of this? If not, like, that's crazy. But I guarantee somebody recorded.
So after the stabbing, Carmelo ran. The prosecution argues that the fact that he drops the knife and he takes off, it proves guilt. They also say that he tried to allegedly blend in with the crowd when people went looking for him. The defense, they say that Carmelo ran because he was defending himself, that he was trying to get out of the situation. And they say that he went to one of his coaches until police arrived. Now, once police arrived, Carmelo is quoted as saying, quote, "I'm not alleged, I did it." And prosecutors say that proves that Carmelo knew what he did. They also say that Carmelo said, quote, "I told him not to," when speaking about Austin Metcalf. And they say that also shows that Carmelo wasn't afraid for his life, that Carmelo, they argue, murdered Austin Metcalf. Now, the defense, they look at the sequence of events a little different. They say that the fact that Carmelo said, "I'm not alleged, I did it," that doesn't prove anything. They say, if anything, it shows that he wasn't hiding the fact that he was involved in this altercation,
Right,
and that he had to do it because it was self-defense. Now, of course, a big question that was raised by prosecutors right out of the gate this morning is, I think, a question that hangs over this trial. And it's, why does a 17-year-old kid competing at a high school track meet, middle of the week, why does he need to bring a knife?
Yeah, that's where you're going to get fucked over at. That's the one thing where I can see the jury like, nigga, it don't matter what you say at this point. Why do you have a knife in your hand ready to go at a track meet with other high school students? That's where they're not going to show compassion. They're not going to care. And I think that's where it's fucked up, right? Because it's like, what is a kid doing with a knife at a high school? Who's bringing a weapon to a high school? You got to think if this was your kid that got stabbed or killed, or if you have a child, you'll be like, why is this other kid at school with a weapon? You're going to be mad at the kid and you're going to be mad at the school. You know what I mean? So on that right there, I feel that. Like, why do you have a weapon at a track meet, nigga? I'm like, hey, I'm from the era where we fight. Just fight, nigga. Like, you don't need no weapon. Just fight. Fight, get it over with, and go about your day, man. You know what I'm saying? But let's keep watching.
With him. Now, we'll talk about how the defense may address that in a moment. The defense, at the start of their opening statements today, they took the approach of trying to paint Carmelo Anthony not as a killer, but telling the jury that he's a good kid. This is a guy who was voted captain of his football team. He's someone who has never been in trouble with the law. He works multiple jobs. He enjoys playing chess. He enjoys going camping. They say that he is not the monster that prosecutors are alleging that he is. Now, witness testimony is going to be a driving force behind this trial, but also today, prosecutors showed surveillance video of the incident. Cody Thomas of Court TV was in the courtroom today for all of the testimony.
See, that's going to be a deal breaker. They got video. So there is video, surveillance video. So this is going to be a deal breaker. This is going to tell it all. Like, the video don't lie. So if it lines up with what he's saying, yeah, you might get a little leniency, but is that extreme? Just because somebody say, get from out my tent and get in your face, is that worthy of them getting stabbed and killed? That's what the question is. Just because this guy got up in your face, told you to get from underneath the tent, do you have to go to the extreme of killing them? And that's what y'all got to decide. Like, is that too extreme? Did he have a weapon and then you pull out a weapon? I understand that, but this is high school kids. This is crazy, man.
Cody, I know that there's a 911 call that was played that we'll talk about, some very emotional testimony there at the end of the day. But I want to begin right after opening statements. Surveillance video of this incident was shown. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Chris, it was 5 different angles, surveillance video. Looked like the cameras were on like the light post inside the high school football stadium because they were very wide shots. So the first witness was a forensic video analyst who obviously went through and tried to enhance the videos. We watched the original videos first, and quite frankly, you really couldn't see much of anything. And then after a few minutes, we zoomed in. He showed all the enhancements, and he had spot shadowing and highlighting who we're supposed to be looking at. You can't really make out any distinct features, and the prosecution admitted that before they even played the video. They had to look at clothing and identify the person of interest, who of course is Carmelo Anthony, and the victim, who is Austin Metcalf. So they outlined all of that based on the photos that came out later once Carmelo was taken into custody. But again, the videos, it establishes what happened. You can definitely make out what happened, but it wasn't, to me personally, as compelling as I thought it would be, because it looks like gas station video. It's really grainy. It's zoomed in. When it's zoomed out, it looks high quality, but when it zooms in, as you know, with any picture, it loses some of the quality. But you can see the tent where everything goes down. You see Carmelo Anthony walk under the tent 2 minutes before Austin Metcalf and his friends get to the tent, and then everything starts going down within 4.5 minutes. You see, just kind of some humanoid blobs under the yellow Memorial High School tent, and then you see one figure kind of jolt, really fast jolt to and from, which they were saying, the prosecution was saying, that was the initial push. They're not denying that Austin Metcalf, made physical contact. They admitted that there was a physical altercation.
All right. So he got physical. What happened after that? Because I believe when we watched the first video, they alleging right after the push, Carmelo responded with a knife. Now, is that what happened? Or did they jump him? Then he pulled out the knife? Let's see.
But that was the moment you saw the push. And then, of course, you see the 25, 30 kids start scattering throughout the bleachers. And then you see the person of interest, again, Carmelo Anthony, running down the bleachers, running a ways away from where the tent was, out onto the track and into the arms of another coach, Chris. But again, the video, of course, establishing, giving us, painting a picture of what it looked like that morning. This all happened around 10:02 in the morning, right when the track meet was supposed to start. Just really giving us a scene setter, just to allow us to understand what was really going down that day.
And we don't have cameras in the courtroom, as we've said. I mean, and I know things got emotional near the end of the day. And we'll talk about some of these witnesses here in the moment, some of these coaches that witnessed what happened. They witnessed the aftermath. But what's the layout of the courtroom? Like, what was Carmelo Anthony's, what did he seem like as all of this was going on today?
So I'm positioned right behind the Metcalf family. So it's a very small courtroom, Chris, only seats about 60, 65 people. Each side, each family gets 15 people each, so that's 30. You have 9 of us media people, that's 39, and then plus court staff. So it's about 45 seats already taken up before members of the public can get inside, which that only allowed for 25. I think the exact number this morning was 27 members of the public who are allowed to come in. But of course you have the Metcalf family on one side, the Carmelo Anthony camp on another side, and I'm watching Carmelo during all of these videos, all of the emotional testimony from the different coaches and witnesses, because I mean, at the end of the day, he stabbed a kid to death. Whether, it's proven to be self-defense, whether it's proven to be murder, whether it's manslaughter, you still took a human life. And I'm looking at him and he was kind of stoic. He wasn't really emotional. He was watching the videos. He didn't turn away from the videos. But I'm looking at Austin Metcalf's family, and his father, is fully engaged in everything, but every so often, every 10 to 15 minutes, his father would just kind of put his head in his hands like this, and I'd see him nod his head no, just, of course, overwhelming emotion there. But I'm looking back and forth trying to gauge the dynamics between both of them, between the alleged aggressor and the victim here. And there was stoicism on this side and clear emotion on the Metcalf side, as expected.
All right, here's how I'm feeling about this right now, right? It doesn't seem like they got any concrete evidence showing either party did. Like, okay, if I'm Carmelo's team, it don't seem like he hasn't said it yet. If so, they got any concrete evidence on why he needed to stab him with a knife, right? All right, I'm not being biased right here. I'm just being realistic. The other side is definitely going to prey on that and make it seem like he's the aggressor. He took it too far, just over a shove, and you coming over here in their space. For one, you're being a troublemaker. Like, they could paint this, because right now, if you don't got any solid concrete facts, it's all about what you can persuade a jury to believe and what you can prove. That's all it boils down to. What can you persuade a jury to believe, and what can you prove? So if you say I got this videotape, but it's grainy as fuck and you can't really see nothing, that's not going to help. So the thing is, number one, why did he need to kill him? If I'm Carmelo Anthony's team, I need to get the jury to understand why he needed a knife, and two, why he needed to kill him. If you can't present that, he's doomed. And that's reality. This isn't being on no black, white shit. This is just, you know how the justice system works, man. At the end of the day, somebody was killed, regardless what color you are. Can you prove why he needed to be killed, or was like that's, and he's black, so yes, of course. I don't know nothing about Collin County, Texas. I don't know nothing about the city where the high school is that happened. That's where you Texas people got to come in and let us know. But do I see him getting convicted for this? As of right now, because they haven't said nothing. If I'm looking, I'm thinking this is a jury with all white people and Asians and all that, no black people on here, and they ran through 600 people, and out of the 600, they like, I can't convict a high school kid for life, but the ones who there obviously said yes, they can. That's a bad sign, because they like, hold on, we can. So if I'm them, and this is how I'm thinking, hey, I don't care how old he is, a murderer is a murderer, they're going to say, why did you need to kill him? Period, point blank. That's what it boils down to. If you can't present something, okay, he was justified in killing him, we understand, he's going to go to jail. You got to make this shit justified. Why did he stab him? Why?
Yeah, I mean, you just think of the weight of everything we're talking about, and even the possibility for Carmelo Anthony that he could be sent to prison for the rest of his life. That's, and it's something where we cover these trials, and you just think of the weight of everything that's going on, and of course for these families and what's going through their minds as all of this is going on.
And you can't say self-defense if somebody just pushes you. You know, people say self-defense just because somebody pushes you. And this is, again, not being on neither side. This is reality. Right now, as a grown man, you get into a bar fight and somebody just walk up and push you and you pull out a knife and stab them, you're going to jail, brother. That's not stand your ground. That's not, you're not matching. You got to match force with force. So if somebody pulls out a knife, poof, you can whip out a knife and stab him because you're protecting yourself. Why? Because I was threatened. He pulled out a knife. I had to protect myself. Boom. If you stand your ground, nigga, that's cool. Same shit with a gun. Somebody whip out a gun on you, nigga, you can shoot that nigga. Bow. If you're in a stand your ground state. But you can't just, because somebody pushed you, unless Texas got some special laws. Just because somebody shoved you, a high school, I don't know, man. Listen, man, fill us in, Texas.
The testimony of some of the coaches who were there, who were witnesses, it seems like this is where things got really emotional today. What, as you kind of reflect back, and I know you just stepped out of court and you're probably still processing everything you heard over several hours, but I mean, when you think of the moment today of where things got emotional, what would be that moment for you?
The moment for me, Chris, was we had several coaches and athletic trainers. They were all at the meet that day, all from different schools. Some of them, knew of each other just because coaches in the same district. All of them had different unique perspectives as to what happened, how they participated in aiding Austin, where they were when they heard the commotion go down. But for me, Chris, it was this last witness before I came out of the courtroom now, a coach named Joshua Redmond, who was a defensive coordinator, a track coach, football and track, they kind of coincide in high school sports. He was there at the track meet with Liberty High School, whose tent was only about 20 feet from Memorial High School, where the whole stabbing went down. And it was established at the beginning of his testimony that he was a 14-year combat Iraq vet, that he did 3 tours in Iraq, and he's seen death. He's a 100% disabled veteran. He told the court that he's been blown up 3 times, twice in a Humvee, once in a house. So he's seen, carnage before.
Yeah.
So he talks about he was standing there talking to another coach, and he wasn't hearing anything, and all of a sudden it was just kids scattering, just a bunch of yelling and screaming. He goes over there, he realizes what's happened. He has no relationship with the Metcalf family at all. He only knows the Metcalf twins through the schools playing football. He says he gets over there, he sees Austin kind of sunken back into the fence on the bleachers. And he's looking at him and he said, someone's told him I've been stabbed, and he's holding his abdomen. Coach says he looks down, he sees the blood coming through his hands, and he immediately takes his jacket off and starts, applying pressure to the wound. And he says he sees, the color draining from Austin's face, and eventually starts seeing his eyes roll back. So while that all sounds emotional, Chris, this is the part that got me. Because he's seen death before, this coach who was a more than a decade combat vet, the kid, Austin, he stops breathing at some point in time.
Yeah.
They lose a pulse. So he's back there doing the CPR, doing the chest compressions. Another coach is doing the mouth to mouth. And so he's clearly not breathing. And one coach is on 911, on the phone with 911. And then he starts talking about the type of breathing that many of us refer to as your last breaths. And he's looking up at the coach that's on the phone with 911. He's looking down at the kid, passing away here. And those breaths start to come. Those last breaths start to happen. And the coach on the phone with 911 is like, oh, he's breathing again. He's breathing again. But the coach Redmond, who was on the stand, says he knew that was it because he's heard the last breaths before. He knew those weren't the normal breaths of someone who's kind of struggling or straining to breathe. He knew those were the last moments. And he said he didn't say anything because he didn't want to kill the morale and the hope. Everyone's hoping, you can hear on the 911 call him saying, stay with me, Austin, stay with me. Come on, you're here.
All right, man. Listen, shut the fuck up. You, brother, are compromised. You're not doing a good job right now. You coming off as biased, brother. But look, I'm not doing no bias shit right now. Here's the thing. What do we know about these young boys right here? They're twin brothers. That's their dad. Now, in the previous video we watched, we do know that they both have played each other in football, Carmelo Anthony and the Austin kid, and they had an altercation on the football field before. So they do have previous contact with each other. They did have previous contact with each other. Now, the depths of their relationship on how they see each other, are they beefing? Do they know each other outside of school or what? I don't know, because This seems like surface level. Surface level, we're looking at like two innocent kids. You know, this nigga might be an asshole. This nigga might be a bully. He might be a nigga that be talking shit. Nigga, I'll kill you, bitch ass nigga. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll kill you, motherfucker. You never know what these kids are. Like, we're just seeing pictures right now. We don't know how they walk around school perceiving themselves to be or acting to be. You got to remember, this is high school. You know, high school motherfuckers are wild, man. So we can't act like all kids in high school are just good kids. Like, these two brothers might be bullies. And then, shit, Carmelo Anthony might be a bully. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? But again, this is what you can prove, and that's what it's going to boil down to. Can you prove that stabbing was justified? Or can you prove, vice versa, on the other side, Carmelo Anthony is a quote-unquote thug who walks around gang banging and threatening people, and vice versa? Can you prove these brothers right here, or Austin, was a racist? Because some people are saying that. Maybe he's a racist. He's a racist. He's a racist, and he walks around threatening people. But then you still got to justify why the stabbing happened. And that's what it boils down to, man. That's what it boils down to. Because right now, we're just going off of pictures. Outside looking in, all of us who are outside in different states and we don't know nobody involved from a can of paint, we're just going off colors. Hey, black, free them. You know what I mean? And ain't nothing wrong with that. Free your people, man. Free your people. I feel it. But then you got the people who live on a legal hey, fuck all that. If this was my child, I would want the person that stabbed my child to go to jail. They're not looking at color lines, black and white. They're looking at the actions. If this was your child and your child was at a track meet and he got stabbed to death, would you want the kid who stabbed him to go to jail? You know what I mean? So I get all angles. I get all sides. Let's keep watching.
Everything's fine, but he said even when he was doing those compressions, he heard those last breaths. He just knew it was over. And when you hear that, coupled with the 911 call, Chris, that was the most emotional moment for me right before walking out of this courtroom just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I mean, I just like reading the notes of the day of like what happened, like I got chills just reading it, you know, and you just think of the chaos of the moment and the fact that this was a high school track meet and, you know, suddenly you have a combat war veteran trying to save the life of a young man who had just been stabbed. What did the jury look like, you know, in all of this? Because I just think of the idea of this 911 call playing and just the description of, you know, Austin, stay with me, and to hear that chaos, like, when things got emotional, what did the jury look like?
So, of course, you know, you had throughout the day as some of this testimony is going on, you know, the jury's mixed, kind of evenly split between men and women. And of course, you have the people who are just kind of shaking their heads, you know, closing their eyes, maybe looking away. But when I saw real emotion where, you know, tissue had to be handed out to some of the men on the jury, no less as well, Chris, was during that 911 call. It went on for maybe 10 or 12 minutes. You heard the other coach, Coach Thayer, who wasn't a witness, but his name was established. He's on the phone. Hey, we got a kid that just been stabbed. They're saying it was another student from another school. They don't know him. But it wasn't really what was being said by the coach who was on the phone with the operators, what you could hear in the background. All the shouting, again, all the, come on, Austin, stay with me. And there was a point in time, Chris, where you can literally hear the rhythmic chest compression. You can just, the voice of whoever was talking, you can just hear it against the bleachers. And I looked over at the jury and you see it was 2 or 3 men wiping their eyes. Of course, a couple of the women had their face in their hands, tears were falling. You know, not visceral crying to where it's audible, but you could see the emotion was definitely running throughout that jury as they were watching.
Yeah, and I just think of the defense, you know, part of this as well, because there is no question about the fact that Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf. The question is, was this murder? For a lot of these cross-examinations today, where you would have the emotional testimony of what people witnessed, like how would you characterize how the defense is going about kind of trying to weather the storm of so much emotion coming from what Carmelo Anthony allegedly did to Austin Metcalf?
Yeah, Chris, you know, the defense didn't really attack as aggressively as I thought they would during this emotional testimony, which can be looked at in a positive or negative way, depending on how you look at it, on what side of the fence you're on. But one of the questions that the defense attorney asked every single witness, you know, we're talking about the tents. And a lot of these coaches, you know, being coaches in competitive sports and being in the culture of track and field, they were talking about track and field culture, how each tent is kind of like your locker room. You know, for example, if you're in the NBA or the NFL, you have two locker rooms, and players don't go back and forth between each other's locker rooms. And they were trying to explain that the tents were kind of the same thing. You might walk by and see a friend that you say, hey, what's up? But you're not hanging out under the tents. But what the defense kept harping on with each witness, there was the whole idea of the rain delay, and the rain was.
This nigga's compromised, man. My boy, you ain't got Carmelo. You ain't got Carmelo back at all. You are Team Austin, brother. You are surely showing it, my guy.
Coming down. Centennial High School, where Carmelo Anthony went, was the only school here that did not have a tent posted up that day. And he kept saying that to each witness. Did you know the Centennial High School did not have a tent? And they were, no, I was unaware, what have you. And then he would follow up saying, well, it would make sense for a student to want to get out of the rain. And they were, that's a fair assessment. No one wants to get drenched. He asked that question pertinently with every single witness. I understand the generality of the question, but I don't know what that question has to do with a first-degree murder charge. But other than that, Chris, he didn't really harp on anything in an aggressive manner with any of this emotional testimony going on here today.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it was constantly noted, like, track and field culture.
Listen, man. See, this is a thing. Just because they say, there's a black guy on the jury, sometimes the black guy might be like this guy. Just because you're black don't mean you're with us. You know what I'm saying? You're with Carmelo. Like, this nigga right here is not with Carmelo, y'all. He's probably worse than the white man on the goddamn jury stand. Because this nigga right here, goddamn, brother. Listen, man. Shit. Goddamn. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Say something about, bro, that possibly could sway. Everything is just Team Austin right now he's talking about. And let's keep watching.
About these tents and maybe talking about like why Carmelo Anthony was there, and then what led to a confrontation as to why Austin Metcalf really wanted Carmelo Anthony out from under that tent. One witness that stood out to me, I think his name is Vincent Hooper, and he was another coach. He's the head football coach, and a lot of these coaches coach track, of course, at Heritage High School. And he was someone who was with Carmelo Anthony right after all of this happened. There's no question, after Anthony allegedly stabs Austin Metcalf, he runs. And the question is, was he running because he knew what he did and that it was murder and he was trying to flee? Or was it a situation where he was defending himself and he was just trying to get away from the situation? What stood out to you about what Vincent Hooper had to say as far as what Carmelo Anthony was doing just in the moments after he had stabbed Austin Metcalf?
So before we talk Hooper, Chris, we got to establish the moments before Carmelo got to Hooper.
Yeah.
And that was the coach that was testifying before Hooper took the stand. All these coaches, by the way, are from different schools. But she was an athletic trainer, one of the girls coaches with another opposing school's track and field team. She was saying, where she was when she heard the commotion, she had, CPR training. So she ran to Austin to try to render some aid. When she got over there, she heard all the kids saying, oh, that kid right there, he stabbed Austin. That one right there, they're pointing at him. So she turns around, she looks at him and, calls him out. Hey, says whatever she says to him, and Carmelo stops. And as soon as she stops, Coach Hooper's right there. And she looks to Coach Hooper saying, they said he stabbed this kid, Austin Metcalf. Don't let Carmelo Anthony leave. So, Hooper's like, what do you mean stab? He's flustered. He said he didn't even register what was really going on. He heard the commotion. He saw his students running and they're saying the stabbing thing, but he said it just wasn't really computing in his head. So he looked to Carmelo Anthony, who was standing right next to him, and he said he just put his arm around him and they just went walking around the track. And Hooper said that he looked at him and said, you stabbed someone, son? And then Carmelo responds to him, he put his hands on me. He put his hands on me. Yeah, I stabbed him. And Hooper says he looked at him and told him, well, if that kid dies, your whole life changes today. And then he said Carmelo looked back at him and said, well, he's not going to die. And then Hooper said, okay, but if he does, and Hooper said before he could even finish, Carmelo started crying and they just continued to walk. And Coach Hooper said that he felt that Carmelo's emotions were genuine. He said he didn't feel that they were some kind of fabrication. I mean, he was literally crying moments after what happened. So it was kind of this intimate moment he was describing. And, you're looking at a 17-year-old kid who just made the biggest mistake of his life here. So
yeah, and it's high school. It's high school, man. You never know what these kids are going through mentally in high school, man. A lot of kids go to school and get bullied you know what I'm saying, for years. Some kids get bullied and bullied and they reach a boiling point. It could be that narrative. We don't know if he was a good kid, a bad kid, a thug, a square. That hasn't been presented to neither one of the videos I've seen. I don't know neither side about neither. I did see that the dad was kind of like one of them red side crazy motherfuckers that like to hunt, and he was talking crazy when the murder happened. So the household on the white side is definitely, might have a little racism going on. I don't know nothing about the kids though. You know what I'm saying? And then Carmelo, was this a boiling point? Was he previously bullied by them? Always bullied by them? Was there something, these kids communicate on Instagram and Facebook, and that's what I'm waiting to hear. Me personally, like, I'm waiting to hear, like, what is the real reasoning that he would need a knife, that he felt he had to bring a knife to school? Was kids picking on him? Was he told, hey, next time I see you, I'm going to do this to you? So he was bringing a knife for protection? Or is it just, hey, I have my knife, I keep it on me every day, and I was just protecting myself from these guys who ran up on me and I didn't want to fight? I don't know. They present some goddamn facts already.
That really stood out to me, Chris, just the intimacy of what he was talking about. He's just walking with this kid whose life clearly has changed in the last year since April 2025.
Yeah, and to think again, like what his reality may be if this is a guilty verdict. Of course, it's only day one of this trial of Carmelo Anthony facing a charge of first-degree murder. Cody Thomas from Court TV, just an amazing job today. I know those are long hours in there following every single detail, but it's great for us because, of course, we can't have cameras in the courtroom to see it for ourselves. So your eyes, your ears in there. Thanks as always for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Happy to be here.
All right, man. I'll definitely stay and keep y'all updated on that as videos roll out. And let's see what happens, man, in this situation with Carmelo Anthony. Let me know how y'all feeling based off what you have seen, what you have heard thus far. How are you feeling? Are you one of the people that's going off of facts, or are you one of the people that's just going off of, hey, my people, you know what I'm saying? Free him because he's black? Or what is your true take on this of a stabbing being justified at a track meet in high school? What makes it justified in your opinion? Just because he pushed him? Hey, he had the right to defend himself. They shouldn't have pushed him. Hey, they shouldn't have walked up on him. Or are you on the opposing side where you like, hey, man, just because somebody pushed you, you don't got to kill him. You should have fought. Or you should have walked away, or you should have told a teacher. You know, that's one thing I'm like, I'm never that person, like, walk away and tell your teacher. Your parents used to say that? Like, nah, fuck all that. I ain't got no time to walk away and tell my teacher. Now you want me to be a buster at school, looked at as a buster? See, like, you got to remember how these kids be thinking in school, man. Sometimes it'd be a lot going on at school they don't talk to their parents about, And it's like, if this is a known bully, nigga, I'm not finna play with you, nigga. You bully everybody else, but you're not finna bully me. It could be that situation. Maybe the Austin, the twin brothers, was known as bullies. And nigga, you walk it up, and guess what? I'm the one that's not gonna back down, and I'm gonna give you your issue. You wanna come over here and play with me, I'm gonna give you your issue. Listen, I ain't here to bother nobody. I'm trying to sit in this tent and not get rained on. But you walking up on your bully shit, playing tough, and nigga, I'm gonna give you your issue. Now, is that justified? That's on you to decide, man, and the jury to decide. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to smash a like, and as always, get ready for the next reaction.